Welcome to Backbone Unlimited. My name is Matt Hartsky. If you're not familiar with who I am, I've been hunting and guiding Western big game for over 34 years, and I've been a professional strength conditioning and nutrition coach for more than 30 years. And I'm here to help you become a more successful and consistent hunter and outdoorsman. In this episode, we're breaking down how far black bears actually travel to feed, because misunderstanding distance is one of the quiet reasons hunters miss bears even when they're hunting the right areas. A lot of hunters assume bears roam huge distances daily. Others believe bears barely move at all. Both ideas can be wrong depending on the conditions, and that confusion leads to bad decisions. Glassing the wrong places, hunting the wrong elevations, or abandoning productive areas too early. Distance matters because it dictates where bears show up, when they show up, and how predictable their movement becomes. If you misjudge how far bears are willing to travel for food, you end up hunting space that looks good on a map but doesn't align with how bears actually live. This episode isn't about giving you a single number. It's about explaining what controls bear travel distance, how that distance changes throughout spring, and how to use that knowledge to position yourself where bears are most likely going to pass through. When you understand how far bears travel to feed and why, that knowledge shrinks big country fast, so let's break it down. Black bears don't travel because they're curious. They travel because the energy math works. Coming out of hibernation, bears are calorie depleted. They've burned fat for months, lost muscle, and are restarting digestion. Every step they take costs them energy, and spring bears are extremely sensitive to wasted movement. That means travel distance is dictated by how much energy a bear expects to gain compared to how much it must spend getting there to eat it. If food is close and accessible, bears travel very little. They don't patrol country just to see what's out there. They feed, bed, digest, and repeat. If food is scarce or scattered, bears expand their movement radius, but still within limits set by terrain and efficiency. This is where hunters get misled. They see signs spread across a unit and assume bears are moving everywhere every day. In reality, those movements often happen over time, not daily, or could be multiple bears. A bear can cover several miles across a week while still operating inside a pretty tight daily loop. Spring bears tend to establish small core use areas early in the season. Within those areas, they move short distances but repeatedly, often a few hundred yards to a mile, between bedding cover and feeding zones. These are movements that they repeat because the bear's needs haven't changed. Long distance travel does happen, but it's usually triggered by necessity. Snow melting opens new feed. A food source dries up or matures. Pressure disrupts normal movement. Shed hunters, for instance. Seasonal shifts force relocation. When food quality improves closer to home, movement contracts again. Hunters who assume bears are constantly roaming just miss this pattern. They hunt wide instead of hunting tight. They glass too much country instead of watching the lanes the bears are actually using. Understanding distance as an energy equation, not a personality trait, changes how you hunt bears entirely. Early spring bear movement is typically restricted. Bears focus on early green up areas and tend to bed close to feed. Travel distances during this phase are often short, efficient, and repeatable. Many bears operate within a half-mile radius for days at a time if conditions stay stable. This is why some hunters see the same bear repeatedly in the same area. It's not coincidence, and it's not that the bear is slow. The bear simply has no reason to leave. Calories are available, travel is easy, and risk is low. But this pattern doesn't last forever. As spring progresses, green up spreads, snow lines recede, and food becomes available across more terrain. Bears begin to expand their travel radius incrementally, not all at once. They don't suddenly disappear uphill, they layer their movement. A bear may start by moving laterally across slopes, connecting multiple feeding pockets. Then it may begin climbing slightly higher as new feed opens up. Eventually, it may relocate its core area entirely once the energy math favors a new zone. This transition phase is where hunters get confused. They assume bears disappeared when in reality the bear simply extended its range. The feeding area shifted and the bear followed. Hunters who don't recognize this shift keep hunting yesterday's pattern. Travel distance isn't static across the season either. It evolves with conditions. The key is recognizing whether bears are in a stable phase or a transition phase. Stable phases mean shorter, repeatable movement. Transition phases mean expanded travel and new routes. Both are huntable, but only if you understand which phase you're in. Terrain plays a massive role in how far bears are willing to travel as well. Bears prefer routes that minimize elevation gain, resistance, and exposure. Side hills, benches, low angle ridges, and gentle drainages allow bears to cover distance efficiently. Steep climbs, deep snow, blowdown, and thick brush discourage long movement even when food is attractive. In broken terrain, bears often move further horizontally than vertically. They'll contour across slopes rather than climb straight up or drop straight down. This keeps energy expenditure low and maintains access to cover. This is why some bears appear to teleport across country. They aren't traveling as the crow flies, they're following terrain efficient paths that may zigzag across contour lines. Hunters who measure distance on a map without considering contour lines misunderstand actual travel effort. A mile of side hill travel may cost far less energy than a quarter-mile straight uphill climb for the bear. From the bear's perspective, those two distances are not equal. Snow also compresses movement. Bears will avoid crossing deep snowfields and instead skirt the edges, which can extend travel distance but reduce effort. Those snowline edges often become repeatable travel routes, something to keep in mind.
This episode is brought to you by TideWe and their revolutionary see-through ground hunting blind. If you've ever hunted out of a traditional blind, you know the trade-off. Either you can't see out without cracking a window, or the second you do, you risk being spotted. That's where TideWe's see-through ground blind changes the game. From the inside, you get a full 270-degree field of view through 3 walls of one-way see-through mesh. You can see every movement outside without opening a thing. But from the outside, you stay completely concealed. Game animals can't see in, even when you're sitting just a few feet from them. This blind is fast and simple to use. The pop-up hub system lets you set up or take down in just a couple minutes. Noise-free sliding windows give you multiple shot options without spooking animals. Brush-in loops let you blend it into your surroundings, and the open bottom design makes it easy to stay quiet and comfortable. You can choose between 2 sizes, the 2 to 3 person or the larger 3 to 4 person version like the one I'm using here. And you've also got your choice of 150D or the more durable 300D fabric, so you can pick what fits your style of hunting best. The price of this blind is already phenomenal, but you can get another 18% off by using code BBU18 at checkout. That's BBU18.
When terrain funnels movement into predictable corridors, bears may travel further than expected because the travel path itself is efficient. That's why identifying travel corridors matters more than measuring straight line distance. Bears don't think in miles, they think in resistance. One of the biggest misconceptions in spring bear hunting is confusing daily movement with seasonal relocation. Daily movement for spring bears is often modest. Many bears travel less than a mile in a day when food and conditions are stable. They feed, bed, digest, and reposition slightly, often within the same general pocket of terrain. Seasonal movement, however, can cover several miles, but it happens gradually. A bear may move a mile or two, then another mile a week later, then another as green-up progresses. Over time, that adds up, but the movement never feels dramatic from day to day. From a hunter's perspective, it looks like the bear simply vanished. Hunters who expect bears to cover large daily distances hunt too broadly. They bounce from drainage to drainage, never staying long enough for bears to show up. Hunters who understand incremental movement hunt the edges of change, where bears are moving next, not where they've already been. This distinction matters because it tells you whether to stay put or relocate. If bears are stable, patience wins. If bears are transitioning, you need to move with them, but only slightly. Most hunters move too much, too fast because they misunderstand that scale. And you don't need GPS collars or research papers to estimate bear travel distance. You just need observation and consistency. If you see repeated bear sightings in the same zones across multiple days, bears are likely operating within short ranges. If multiple bears show in the same general area, food is probably concentrated and movement is tight. If sightings suddenly stop across multiple days without weather, pressure, or food changes, bears may be transitioning rather than leaving the unit entirely. Tracks tell a story too. Tracks that appear consistently along the same lines indicate stable movement. Tracks that begin appearing in new elevations, aspects, or slope, those positions suggest expanding range. Feeding sign density also matters. Concentrated, heavily used feed usually means short travel. Scattered, lightly used feed often means broader movement and longer distances between meals. The biggest mistake a lot of hunters make is ignoring their own data. They second guess what they've seen instead of letting the patterns develop and let that tell them what they should do next. Listening to your own observations instead of assumptions is how you stay aligned with bear behavior. When bears are traveling short distances, hunt tight. Focus on lanes between bedding and feed. Stay patient. Reglass the same slopes and let repetition work. When bears are expanding movement, hunt the edges. Watch transitions between elevation aspects and food types. Bears moving further expose themselves more often, but usually for shorter windows. The mistake a lot of hunters make is hunting wide when bears are tight and hunting tight when bears are moving wide. And that mismatch is what costs opportunities. Distance dictates your strategy here, not the other way around. If you match your approach to how far bears are actually traveling, your odds improve immediately. Black bears don't travel arbitrary distances. They move based on energy balance, terrain resistance, food availability, and seasonal progression. Early spring movement is often short and repeatable. As conditions change, bears expand their range incrementally. Terrain determines how far that expansion feels in real terms. When you understand how far bears are willing to travel and why, you're going to stop guessing. You hunt movement instead of space. Now, if you're serious about taking this kind of knowledge deeper, that's exactly why I built Team Backbone. It's more than just a membership, it's a way to sharpen your edge with exclusive tools, strategies, and a tribe of relentless hunters. Inside, you're going to get 20% off site wide on all Backbone Unlimited gear, the option to have a t shirt shipped to your door every month, full access to the digital content vault of guides, checklists, and backcountry strategies, a private Facebook group with direct access to me and a community of driven hunters, direct call, text, or email access to me for personalized advice on training, hunting strategy, or just sharpening your edge, and automatic entry into monthly gear giveaways. This is built for the guys who train for the hunt, push themselves in the off season, and want to be part of a tribe that makes them better. If you're ready for that kind of inner circle, then Team Backbone is waiting for you at backboneunlimited.com under our membership tab. Thanks for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, train harder, hunt smarter, and never settle.